What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you, and much anticipated, though for different reasons, probably for me, than say, I don't know, the fans of this band. We are going to go over the latest offering from As I Lay Dying. Through lineup shifts ahead. Sorry, through storms ahead. I read that wrong. Oops. This also comes out on the 15th of November on Napalm Records. This band formed in 2000 in San Diego, California. This is their 8th full-length overall. I used to be a big fan of this band. Shadows Are Security, Frail Words Collapse, Ocean Between Us. I really enjoyed those albums, and then I kind of had a falling out. And then some things happen that we are going to talk about or allude to or make jokes about. Some of them might be recycled from our review of Shaped by Fire, their album from 2019 that we actually reviewed here on the channel years ago. And, well, that really wasn't like that much of a comeback album too. It was pretty much a meh album, but a lot has happened in between. The lineup from that album, which consisted of largely the original lineup, left, minus Tim, because I think he owns the rights to the band's name, despite him being a giant narcissist and sociopath, but you know, we'll get into that. But in between the last album and this one, he has retooled a lineup, which quit this year too. Yeah, it's been very busy in the As I Lay Dying camp. He did recruit from like some pretty well-known bands. I believe he had Ken Susi and Nick Pierce, formerly of Unearth, in there. And he did retain Phil Segrasso from the original lineup, who ended up leaving. And then that kind of caused a domino effect and everyone else left. And, well, yeah, it wasn't too long ago that this band had absolutely no members outside of Tim. In fact, if you look in the archives, it's just a picture of Tim with all the other members photoshopped out. I definitely had a chuckle. But he has since recruited a new lineup of future ex-members, and yeah, for touring purposes for whoever the hell wants to see them.
I too got into this band roughly with the same thing. I got into Frail Words Collapse. I thought that was an awesome album. I remember finding it in an FYE Music because back at that time period, it was really rough to find newer releases really anywhere in town. Jammed it and I loved it. I loved Shadows of Security. And about that time for me, after that record, I kind of fell out of the band. I did listen to a little bit of Oceans Between Us, but I really, again, wasn't a big fan at that point. I did love this band at one time, and then some things happened.
Yeah. I mean, we went over it in the last review all those years ago, and I mean, we've definitely made some jokes about it here recently because we knew this was coming out. Yeah, years ago, Tim decided to, instead of work on his marital problems like a normal functional human being, decided to try to hire someone to off his wife. Luckily, the person that he hired was a undercover federal agent and busted him. He went to prison, whole court thing. He tried to pass it off as roid rage, which is really stupid because I don't know of any instance where roid rage made someone meticulously plot out the murder of a loved one to the point where they're outsourcing the job and not doing it in a blind rage.
Right. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Tim himself hasn't made a whole lot of sense over the last decade or so.
Yeah. He spent a good chunk of time while in prison complaining about the food. Yeah, no, poor him. And because he wasn't getting his supplements, I guess he was having an adverse reaction to not getting those. Anyway, he did not serve his entire sentence. He got out early for reasons. And not long after that, he reformed the band. And then since the original lineup, you know, Jordan Mancino and Nick Hippa and all the other guys I'm not remembering offhand right now, slowly but surely started leaving the band. And then we have this lineup, which is already all left. And we have this album. And honestly, this might be the worst As I Lay Dying album I have heard yet. Again, they have a style. They play in just a pretty small sandbox in terms of melodic metalcore, but this is just one of the most bland albums I think they've put out ever.
Yeah, I would actually be hard-pressed to find any real great moments on this record. There are a handful of times where there are some decent moments. There's some pretty cool speedy arpeggio runs in A Broken Reflection. There's a solid breakdown in the last track, Taken From Nothing, and a decent breakdown in Gears That Never Stop. But beyond that, the gear they could have stopped was this record, and the one-track mind that this record is in.
A lot of this is very just straightforward melodic metalcore, which I know, like, that's kind of what you should expect from this band. I didn't think they were going to change their style, but there are tons of, like, metalcore bands out there that still know how to, like, come out with, like, something that sounds invigorated. Like, Unearth's last one. Unearth's last one I absolutely love. That is quality metalcore right there. And to think Ken Susi left that band to join this one makes me kind of sad. But he's out now, so I'm kind of happy about that. All this is, like, competently played. Like, you know, there's good lead melodies. The drum work's solid. You know, there's solid riffs, but it's all bland. It all feels sterile. It's like every bit of flavor was removed just to stay safe. Like, you know what these songs are going to do by, like, the first 30 seconds, because they kind of just lay out that path, like frequent, like, melodic harmonies and such in terms of the guitars. Tim growls the best he can, because honestly, I don't think he sounds that good on here. And breakdowns so predictable that Stevie Wonder could see them coming. Yeah, like, it's all just kind of standard fare in here.
Which is crazy, because the musicians in this band are talented people. Ken Sushi's no slouch by any means. Neither is the drummer, Nick Pierce. He's a solid drummer. Like, the thing that bothers me is that the musicians in this band are better than the band. And Tim, albeit he's on the record, is not really on the record.
That was something that I really started to notice after a while. All right, this album is pretty dominated by clean vocals. Outside of We Are the Dead, which features Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail and Tom Barber from Chelsea Grin, both bands I don't really care for, everything has a big, clean chorus. And yeah, like, all right, the clean choruses, that was definitely a thing with As I Lay Dying. They knew how to write them, like, really well, too. Like, we were just listening to Shadows Our Security, and yeah, there's some great clean choruses on there. Here, they feel very just, I don't know, like standard kind of like butt rock or like Warped Tour ready choruses with platitudes. Oh my God, the lyrics on here are just broetry. There's almost a platitude on here for every dollar that Tim spent on a would-be hitman. It's constant, and, you know, just the lyrics themselves feel just like vaguely anthemic. Like, you got these big soaring choruses and, you know, bright melodies, and then Tim comes in all angry because, I don't know, his protein shake didn't taste the way he wanted it to. And none of it has, like, really any impact. Like, I was kind of, like, looking for, like, big impact moments where a chorus will really get a chance to, like, shine and do something a little bit different, but it kind of does that on every single song. Like, this album runs like Groundhog Day, and we were both Bill Murray, and we were just kind of waiting for something different to happen. And all right, there might be a couple of different moments, but different doesn't necessarily equal good. Sometimes different equals bad, like Strength to Survive.
Oh my God.
That song might be as much of a crime as the actual crime that Tim committed. It is probably the closest I think I've heard this band get to Five Finger Death Punch. It is a butt rock anthem driven by just the most bland songwriting ever.
The chorus is awful. Out of all the choruses on this record that I don't like, which is 95% of them, this one is particularly bad because the song starts out with a kind of a stomping groove to it. It's got some decent momentum. You know, like in a movie, like the hero of the movie is supposed to give this big rousing speech to rally the troops, and then someone kicks in the door and just comes in and just farts during his speech. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that fart during the Sleep Token set that was on the air.
That was the best part of that
I
set.
love that so much. I still play that back all the time.
Dude, it's great. I had kind of the same issue with The Void Within, namely the chorus. That song actually gets, like, pretty damn heavy. Like, you have blast beats, you have some more intricate transitions on there. There's some fun riff work. I'll totally admit it. And of course, some good syncopated grooves, because that's like on every fucking song. But when the chorus hits, it is the most ill-fitting, like shoehorned in there clean chorus. And there's a lot of moments on here where I feel like the choruses are just shoehorned in. But I also feel like they're drawn out quite a bit to the point where Tim is barely present on certain songs. Like The Cave We Fear to Enter. That song is completely dominated by clean vocals. And, spoiler alert, they're not Tim's. Tim's never done the clean vocals as far as I know. He's never been a clean vocal guy. He just, he just growls about stuff he's angry about, like the going rates on Hitmen. But he's barely on this song. Like, he growls some of the verses, and then even during the verses, like, there's a clean vocal refrain. Yep. There's a pre-chorus. There's the actual chorus. There's a whole clean bridge part. Tim is just kind of growling behind some of the chorus parts, which, yeah, he's done that in the past, and guess what? It's never been to, like, a great effect. Like, I've never said in an As I Lay Dying song, you know what the best part of that chorus hook was? Was Tim growling behind the pretty well-sung clean vocals. Same thing with Burden and Whitewash Tomb.
Although Tim does have a full verse in Whitewash Tomb, I want to point that out. He does get one full verse. It's only one, though.
And his vocals sound really processed this time. Like, they sound like they layered them, like, at least 3 or 4 times just to make him sound a little bit more full, because I don't think he's delivering his vocals with the same power as he did. Now, over time, your vocal prowess can drop off. That's human. But it's also interesting that I feel like his vocals are pushed back in the mix. Like,
they are.
His vocals compared to the clean vocals, his are like all the way in the back seat, and the clean vocals honestly do a majority of the driving.
His growls, for the most part, are buried. But then again, the whole record kind of faces that same issue. It sounds really muffled, and beyond that, it sounds like things are kind of glitching or cutting in and out. Like, you know how in some modern deathcore you have those glitching vocals that, in this case, it sounds like everything is glitching. It actually sounds like you're standing in front of a helicopter, and the sound that happens between the whirring blades kind of just sounds like it's glitching out. The guitars glitch out sometimes, the bass glitches out sometimes, and it's a really weird kind of mixture of things.
I think that's like the mix, because again, like the first thing I thought of was like a more modern deathcore kind of production, especially with the glitchy transitions, which get really obnoxious and overused. But overused tropes, we'll get into that too. But back to the production, it sounds, again, muffled and muddy. Like, sometimes the guitars really lack a lot of, like, distinct crunch to them. But it also sounds, like, overproduced. Like, you have big lush synths in the background, again, very processed vocals. I don't know. I like, everything sounds a little bit off in here. And, well, I mean, back to what I alluded to, a lot of this, I feel like, was just written in Tim's comfort zone, which isn't a prison cell, obviously. It should be. But it's all done in the vein of, like, just mid-2000s melodic metalcore, to the point where they just overuse a lot of the same tropes. Syncopated breakdowns, and doing them repeatedly and very similarly. Like, there's not a lot of distinction between the breakdowns. Like, there's some standout ones, I'll give it that. The breakdown at the end, I'm Taken From Nothing, I think is probably one of the best ones in the album. Yeah. Gears That Never Stop, though, I really wish they would. The last breakdown on there I thought was really solid too. But he also overuses the clean guitar fade in. Like, you get a lush melody begin, and then all of a sudden we're taken off into riffs that we borrowed a long time ago from In Flames. Or At the Gates, take your pick. Or you get, like, the fade in with the muffled vocals into a breakdown, and, well, then the rest of the song kind of just follows the formula. Like, frequently you get, like, the gallop, thrashy, harsh vocals, and then we settle into a groove, and then boom, the chorus hits, and then back into that. Maybe either that or we skip right to the lead, which the leads are good.
They're short.
They're very short. They're on there just long enough for you to notice that, hey, that's a really cool melody. Ooh, was that some tapping? That's really nice. And it's gone. And we're back into either the chorus or a breakdown.
Or a refrain. Yeah, most of these songs are set up to actually have multiple clean singing moments. Like, A Broken Reflection has easily 3 to 4 choruses in it, and once again, it goes back to the thing of Tim being kind of just pushed into the background because he really doesn't have a chance to really do anything. Like, the verses in most of these songs are really short, and the breakdowns are focused way more on the music. He may growl a time or two, but this album should be called As I Lay Dying, Big Choruses.
With special guest star Tim Lambesis. I feel like a lot of this album is like an EP's worth of ideas stretched out into a 42-minute album, and you can really feel that because after a certain point, it just becomes rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Like, not many of these songs stand out, and unfortunately, when they did stand out, especially later on in the album, they weren't standing out for good reasons. And this is my take on the music. Like, if I was to review Tim himself, I don't like Tim. I really don't. I think he pretends to be a Christian as much as he pretends to be a decent human being. He's like the anti-Jamie Josta, like the roided out dipshit fucking doppelganger of him. And I don't think he ever really like flat out apologized for what he did, or I don't even know if he legit feels bad. And the fact that everyone keeps leaving his band tells me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there's one focal thing, one main factor and all that, and it all seems to be swirling around him. And I'm surprised people, forgave him so quickly, because it seemed like as soon as he was out, dude, the fucking Tim stans were out there like, you man, you go, man, we're so glad you're out, man, you know, it's amazing, we totally forgive you right away. I'm like, wow, that was quick. In a perfect world, Tim should be selling like fucking protein shakes and infomercials late at night, but for some odd reason, this band keeps going, despite the fact that people leave this band just quicker than shit here lately.
Like, you think you'd take a hint at this point. At this point in the game, I would just stop. Hang up your hat, hang up your cell phone, throw away your list of hired guns. Musicians, I'm sorry. That was terrible. But yeah, it really, just be done. If this record is what's going to continue for you, this is not a good direction.
And it's still kind of the same direction. It's just without any of the heart, any of the feel.
Yep.
Like, I don't believe much thought went into this. This was just kind of the same song restructured over and over and over again. And it is as though the style of music can't be done well. Like, I mean, I still like a lot of earlier All the Remains. August Burns Red. I honestly think that band's still pretty awesome at what they do. And they do kind of the same thing, except, well, better. A lot of this is just kind of stuck in that, like, super anthemic arch enemy gear that they've been locked in for entirely too long. And, yeah, I legit think this might be the worst As I Lay Dying album yet. And I own all of them, except for this one, which I won't own because I don't want it. So, overall, I'm going to give this 1.5 stars. Like, this was just, like, infinite repeat of the same trope after the same trope. I don't think the mix sounds very good. Tim doesn't even sound particularly powerful, which isn't as though I was really rooting for him to sound good, but I suppose that would have been nice. The musicianship is competent. It's fine. They can all play. Like, all these guys are talented. Even Tim, I guess. But all this feels just stock. Like, you know, it is the most, you know, As I Lay Dying album they could possibly make. And there was not a single chance taken on here other than trying to modernize some of the production and get a little glitchy and like, yeah, this is for the new kids or whatever. I don't know. I don't think this band is adding a tremendous amount of new fans, especially with all of the press they get here lately. Still, though, I mean, if you love this, you love this. That's great. More power to you. And, I mean, if you're a fan of, again, like mid-2000s melodic metalcore in general, Killswitch Engage, and, you know, a litany of other bands, Haste the Day, I think that band just popped up again, too. Check it out. Give it a whirl. But I would totally understand if you didn't, because, yeah, this totally wasn't for me, and I was a fan of this band.
I'm not even going to give it 1.5 stars, to be honest. I'm going to give it 1 star. There are a handful of moments on this record that are decent, but there's not a single song on here that I liked through and through. The choruses became annoying. They're not even good choruses anymore, you know? On Shadows of Security or An Ocean Between Us, like, those choruses were decent. The cleaner vocals sounded less, like, whiny. And again, I'm not knocking the musicianship. I think all these guys are very talented people. I just think that the direction that they took for this album sounds like a direction they've already taken before, and the sad thing is that it sounds worse than it did when they took this direction before. Tim is barely on this album, which I don't really care. I didn't listen to this album to listen to Tim growl. There's a million other vocalists out there that can do what Tim does and pretty much better. The mix sounded pretty bad. Like, it was just kind of like, you get to the midpoint of this record and you're like, all right, I've already heard this song 6 times. And then you get to the back half of the record and I was like, well, I've already heard this song 6 times too. So you get 11 songs that all kind of sound the same, and it didn't do it for me. And I too used to be a fan of this band. I love the first 3 records. But this record's kind of a piece of crap, and I'm okay with telling you that. Still, if you like this band, check it out for yourself. Just because it's not for us doesn't mean it won't be for you. And yeah, if you're still kind of stuck in the mid-2000s metalcore era, yeah, Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall, I don't know, you might find something you like in this. I actually hated it, so that's where I'm at.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also now have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and we will start doing our members-only live chats here soon in terms of like streams. We just got to figure out a time for it. Don't worry, we'll let you know in the community. Yep. We also offer extraordinarily stupid emojis. There'll probably be some other dumb ones I add just because reasons.
That's us.
This is pretty much our new way to support the channel more directly. We're trying to get away from Patreon and that, and StreamYard is raising their prices. And this kind of helps us out with that. And, of course, we still have our store, too, thrallsmetal.com, t-shirts, hats, and whatnot. So if you would like to help us out in either maybe getting a shirt or a hat or becoming a member, we would greatly appreciate it.
And really, the bottom line is we greatly appreciate all of you. All of the things that we do on this channel, the non-stop reviews, discography rankings, multiple discussion forums, live streams now. Like, we constantly are at work here at Thralls of Metal, and we do it for you guys because we appreciate all the support you give us, all of our fans. It's crazy to think that this channel has grown into what it has grown into. We are just shy of 20,000 subscribers, which is fucking insane. The more I think about it, I can't believe we're this far. I can't believe this channel is as popular as it is, and again, it's all because of you guys, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to get something together for a 20,000 subscriber giveaway. I just got to find what all I have to give away. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing doing this, and we appreciate every last bit of support you guys have given us. So one more big thank you because of how awesome you guys are, and we will catch you later.